challenging. You know, I used to be one of these people that made big goals. I was going to lose 20 pounds. I was going to start a new exercise regimen. All of these big things. I kind of used it like a do-over, a start over. And then, you know how it works. Within a few weeks, the energy drops. Your investment's different. And it doesn't last. It just doesn't last because we are who we are. But I still can't resist. I still can't resist trying to make goals. So I would love to check in with you today, see how you're doing, how you're feeling about 2023. Are you optimistic? Do you have hesitations? If you get to the end, in December, let's say we're at Christmas of 2023, what would you like to be able to sort of say or reflect back about this year to make it more meaningful, to make it different? Who do you want to be when you get to the end of this year? Sorry, I'm having technical problems and it keeps giving me issues here. I don't really know why. I'm going to let go of trying to pull off. I usually have multiple things going on at the same time, and one of the things are failing, wouldn't you know? So I'm just going to let that go and not worry about it. I know what I did for December, and it's some things to kind of cool things to announce for all of you. If you don't know if you noticed, I slowed down. You may not have been able to really see all of that, but I actually started, I put up less videos. I just sort of stepped back a bit. I closed my first season of the podcast, ended like the 21st of December, which meant it was done taping for me mid-December. So I've taken now nearly 3 weeks of a slower schedule. And you're going to notice I'm revamping a lot. I'm going to have a new website come out. Hey, Kerry, so good to see you. New website come out here in a couple weeks. It's going to be a centralized location where you can find everything. The store experience for you is going to be so much better. I'm very, very excited about that. Hey, so good to see you too, Bree. I love that you guys are coming on here and talking to me today. Thank you so much. So there will be a lot of differences. In fact, the podcast is changing. I'm adding a co-host. On Monday, I'm going to be kicking off a new year with Tara Blair Ball. You can find her at her handle is at Tara Relationship Coach. Is going to be my new co-host. Her and I go back. We're both writers first. And then she's the one I'm on TikTok and on Instagram doing videos because of Tara. Tara was the one that told me I need to get my ass over there and start doing it, that was where the wave was. And so that's why I'm here doing this stuff, is because of her advice. And we're going to bring kind of a unique position because Tara is a little more, anybody who follows her, a little more solidly in the codependency camp, how to handle healthy relationships, better communication. And then I have the solid abuse camp. Not that she doesn't know anything about it, she does. But we're going to bring in kind of this nice mix because she's in her 30s and I'm not in my 30s. She's raising children. My children are all grown up. She's in a relationship and I'm single. So we're coming at it from different perspectives. So I'm super, super excited about that. It's called Breaking Free from Narcissistic Abuse. The title's not changing, but you'll see a little bit of format change, and of course you're going to have this co-host. So I'm super excited about that. And starting next week, I'm going to be doing, here's the thing for everybody. I'm at both Instagram and TikTok right now live, but it's going to be on TikTok. I can't do it on both platforms. It's too crazy, but I will film it on Instagram so you can watch me, you just won't be able to see the guests. But I want to have live guests on TikTok, 4 guests. And this is for audience participation. We're going to be doing a guided somatic experience live. So when you come on January 12th, this time, it's going to be 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. So when you come on at this time, you're going to see that I'm conducting a meditative or an exercise experience. So it's not going to be me talking to you or taking questions. It's going to be actually a therapeutic, dare I say, or a healing experience, a guided healing experience of helping you reconnect your mind, the way you think about yourself and life with your body and with your emotions. That's the goal. I've identified 9 weeks of material. We're going to start out with a guided relaxation, and then we'll move all the way to the end where we're going to be doing more of helping you deal with kind of feeling grounded and learning some techniques to how to self-soothe when you're feeling very, very overstimulated, very shook up, very in a bad space. So what happens is, and I'll tell you again on the 12th, but one of the things that they've found is that trauma shuts down our sense of self, our sense of body in space, and it shuts down our connectedness with our emotional self. That all of that tends to go offline. If you think about it, let's just put it in a completely different setting for a moment. Say that you are surviving, say that you were out in the street and somebody held you up. You're not going to be staying there in that moment thinking, oh, how do I feel about this? What's my body feeling? Where am I in space? Am I safe? You're not going to be thinking about that. You're going to be focused on the assailant and trying to navigate that in the most sophisticated possible way so there's no injuries, right? You're going to be focused on the event. Well, what happens is because of our natural fight or flight system setup, the part of our sense of self that's in touch with ourselves goes offline. It goes offline. When we are chronically in an unsafe situation, like those of us who've been in some form of an abuse, or whether it's emotional, psychological, or narcissistic abuse, we chronically go offline. We chronically lose disconnection with our sense of self, our sense of emotional self, our sense of our bodies. We chronically disconnect and numb out because that's how survival works. You take something that's supposed to happen for a crisis, and unfortunately it becomes chronic. And then for that, we learn this chronic habitual way of being disconnected. So part of the healing that comes back, that happens, let me rephrase that. Part of what needs to happen for us to heal is we need to reconnect with that part of ourselves that went offline. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do for us experientially. You know how you watch at night, if you ever see those groups doing kind of like audio stimulation, they do that thing with their microphone and the scratching or whatever. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, but it will be an actual experience, just like those are real experiences where you can come along for the ride and do it with us. So I will have 4 guests who will be visible. They'll share the screen with me so we can watch them. But all of you, if you show up at the start and get the instructions, you'll be able to join in and do it with us. So that's my hope, is that it isn't just simply audience observation, but I'm really hoping for audience participation. So just so you know, put it on your schedule. It's going to be every Thursday starting January 12th. And if you want to be one of the guests who actually come online and be there so people can see you doing it, please sign up. There's a link in my bio. I would love you to do that. I already have the 12th and the 19th is full. So we're going to be so you can, the schedule is there on the sign up. You can see what the schedule is. You can then sign up which one you want to be a participant for and do that with us. And that way people can watch you do it while you're doing it with me, and I'll be doing it with you. In fact, I'm going to set it up in my house to where you have a view of me on a more comfortable, not a desk chair, but sitting in a more of like a comfortable chair. And I'm right now working on a royalty-free musical backup so that we'll have nice kind of meditative music playing in the background. I really want to set this up so that it's a good experience for both the guests who are doing it with me, but also for the audience. And I would love to know what you think. I'm super excited about it. I'm hoping that it is healing and that we rediscover ourselves and we reconnect with ourselves. One of the things I do for my own healing, and for those of you who know me, know that I survived very significant, serious SA back when I was a toddler, preschooler. So for me, my body, it's hard for me to feel safe in my body in space. So when I first did yoga, oh my goodness, it was so triggering for me, especially in a group setting. I think I did yoga alone in the basement for the first year. I couldn't even go to a public setting and do it with even if it was just women in the room, it was too unsafe to strike some of those poses like downward facing dog. I just felt like it was, any of you who've ever experienced sexual trauma, how very disturbing some of those positions can be. I was thinking about it, like last night I was doing yoga again in my room, and I was thinking about striking those poses, and my son was in the house, and he was preparing us dinner, and I was thinking how comfortable I was in my body, knowing that I was safe, knowing that those poses were not lured, and they were not suggestive, that I didn't need to feel scared that I was being at risk. And that's what I want for all of us. I want all of us to get to a place where we feel safe in ourselves, safe with our emotions, safe with other people, that we get to a place where we even can trust ourselves and trust our body. So that's the point of that's called a guided mind-body reconnection experience. It starts next Thursday, a week from Thursday, at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. It'll take roughly an hour, so plan on an hour. And please, I would love to have you guys come right in at 1 o'clock so that you're ready. And think about I know maybe some of you might be at work, but think about, can you be in a place where you can actually like lean back and close your eyes? Can you have some silence, shut the room and have a moment of quiet? Take some time and set up your situation so that you can really take advantage of that. I think that would be awesome. On TikTok, Brittany just took a poll and said, what are we all struggling with? And 75% of us today on TikTok are trying to heal after abuse. So I would be curious on Instagram, and what are you trying to heal from right now? Are you still in the relationship? Are you looking for help getting out? Are you right now trying to break a trauma bond? And maybe you are trying to get out right now, or maybe you're healing in the aftermath. So let me know on Instagram what you guys are struggling with. But on TikTok, I have a small audience today, smallest I've had in a long time. I'm kind of curious about that, why my audiences used to be like 200-300, and lately they've been under 100, and today it's all of 50 people. I don't quite know what that's all about, but TikTok's doing weird things. I don't really, it's I don't know. I'd like to know, anybody who's a creator on TikTok, have you been seeing weird numbers too? It's strange. So anyway, yeah. Well, so that's what's coming up on starting next week. Also, there's what's happening with the podcast. I have a live webinar with Lundy Bancroft on February 9th. I'm super, super excited about. Have you guys got your tickets? I haven't raised prices yet, but I will soon move it from 30 to 35. So please make sure to get your tickets for that webinar. It's going to be an amazing time with Lundy Bancroft. I don't know how many of you know who he is. You can get his book, Why Does He Do That, for free as a PDF. Do you guys know that book is out there circulating for free? Changed my life. That book changed my life, guys. This interview with him, first of all, he's very hard to get any kind of interview with him at all. He's retired, so he doesn't accept engagements. He's very reluctant. I'm actually paying him to do this engagement. So you may not ever get a chance to hear him again. I don't know how old he is, but I just know that he's really shutting his practice down. So this is a rare opportunity. I've spoken to at least one other podcaster who says you can't get a hold of him at all. So I'm super excited that we'll get to interview him. And the last 30 minutes, you get to ask your questions. So what would you like to know from him? Remember, he's written on co-parenting with an abuser. He's written on when do you know to leave? How do you actually know? What are the signs that it's time to leave? He talks a lot about types of abusive men, and he also gets into more cultural dynamics, why this is happening, where is it coming from. He answers the question based upon his research, are they all have mental health issues, or are they all personality disorders, or what's going wrong? Why does abuse seem to be more rampant among men than women? And I know I always get the male participants who say, yeah, but women abuse. Yes, they abuse, but in fact, Lundy Bancroft wrote a long article on his blog, on his website. And he challenges that. He challenges why he focuses on men and not on women. And one of the reasons, if you think about it, a lot of female abuse is a result of kind of a reactive to abuse that they've had in their lives. Now, yes, you can make an argument saying, well, men were little ones and someone abused them, but who abused them? Chances are it wasn't so much the mom, it was more likely the dad. That the mom's reacting to a really bad situation with the father in the family, and she was trying to manage all of that. Yeah, she may not have been a good mother. I'm not saying she's a good mother, but if you kind of like trace it back, trace where it's starting, you're going to find that most abuse starts at some point from a male perspective, more a patriarchy perspective. Can't say that word, a patriarchy perspective, not necessarily from women. And women don't have the power. I know I'm off topic, and somebody just asked me, what's the name of the book? Is why does he do that? The book's name is Why Does He Do That? Inside the Mind of Angry Controlling Men. And if you just Google that, say free PDF, why does he do that? Lundy Bancroft, you'll find it. It's available. It's very easy to find. I heard a fascinating constitutional lawyer on TikTok. It was a clip somebody pulled off of this guy's lecture, and I will be stitching it and putting it together. And the event is February 9th. It's over lunch hour. It's February 9th. This constitutional lawyer said, this was fascinating. He said in the United States that, and like I said, I will be stitching it, so you'll see it coming up here shortly. He said that until 1975, and it came out of, again, I'm blocking on what, there was a question that was being put forth to the Supreme Court that had to do with the perspective, the legality of a woman in America. What was a woman? What was the legal status of a woman in America? And it was 1975 that she moved from the status of property, which was British common law that we just adopted when we set up our Constitution. She went from property to peer in 1975. Property to peer. Women were not recognized as peers until 1975 in the United States. And we wonder why we are where we are in all of this. Why women are so angry, why there's so much transactional abuse, why, I mean, to me, when I heard that, like, oh man, it made so much sense to me, so much sense. That is why it was only till the 60s we couldn't even get a bank account, and why we struggled to be able to buy a house, why divorce wasn't legal until I think the 70s for women. I mean, it makes so much sense. Women haven't been seen as human. I know that in many Middle Eastern countries that there are religious leaders who say that women are animals. We're not human. We're animals with a human face so that we don't upset or terrify men. So we want to know why there's so much abuse, why it's rampant, why women are in a less powerful position. You can't have equality when you're not seen as even having the same value, the same worth as every other person, as all the other people in the world. So it's really, really tough. Yeah. So how are you doing? Let's come back to where I started today, because I don't really want to focus on that today, but it's a whole nother segment of topics. But when you're setting your goals up for this year, what goals are you setting, and how are you setting them, and how can we make it more realistic? For me, I've been doing this assessment of myself. In fact, I went and spent the weekend in Dallas, so I had a long drive there and back from Austin to Dallas. It's a nice 3-hour drive each way, and I was thinking about my life and where I'm at. And I realize now, thinking back, because, see, I had my second hip replacement surgery in November 1st of 2021, so that really meant that I entered 2022 recovering. And nobody prepared me for the significance of the hip resurgery. I had 2 of them, one in August and one in November last year. Actually, in 2021. In 2021, I had 4 surgeries. So I was put under 4 times. Even that, the number of times where I was intubated and under deep anesthesia was a lot. And anybody who knows that kind of creates a lingering effect. It's very hard to wash that out of the body. And so I So I spent most of last year, I couldn't even, I know I didn't talk about this. I was using a walker at the start of the year. I could barely walk without tremendous back spasms, and I couldn't change positions. Getting even out of a chair was hard, or trying to even take like a yoga pose was impossible. I couldn't do it. So by the end of this year, I'm actually able to do some of that. I'm not super flexible yet. I don't have it all back. I still don't have a lot of, because they cut in the front of my legs. Both legs, they went through to the bone from the front. So they cut those muscles. So it's still hard for me to lift my leg and move it forward. I'm still trying to get that. I'm still trying to cope with some pain and stuff. So if you guys saw me at one of those meetups, you're seeing the compromised Kerry that normally was way more. I mean, I felt bad, and I felt old. That's how I felt. I felt really old. So I'm looking at 2023, and I'm trying to reframe it and saying that I want to be healthier. I want more mobility, but I want it to be kinder. I realized that I have been a source of my own abuse. That not only did I leave abusive relationships, but I've kind of perpetuated some of that to myself. So my commitment to myself this year is to be kinder and to show the same kind of compassion I would show to you. I want to start showing to myself. That I want to get better at that. I want to really reassess that for myself. So what are your goals? Why don't you guys share some of your goals? Put a thumbs up in front of it and let me know what you're working on this year. Let's see if we can be softer to ourselves this year. I would really, really love that. And this is kind of another topic, but I also would love to know, what is it that I have not talked about, or you wish I'd talk more about that I'm not talking about, or I haven't spent enough time on? What would you like to hear from me? Whether I do a sort of short content or long content, or what kind of, I know many of us, and you're going to see in the next week or so, I'm going to put more content out about families. I just put a video out on TikTok yesterday about the 5 reasons parents often don't recognize their adult child's narcissistic. But I would love to hear more of, I will do a little more work on that, on in-laws and parents and relationships around families. That's kind of an issue I think that's not enough said about. And I know a lot of us come on here and we have questions about how do we manage these relationships, especially when we marry in or we partner up with somebody who's in a kind of a toxic family dynamic. Yeah, so people are saying they want to learn themselves how to love themselves better, how to have better self-esteem. I'm seeing that over on Instagram. See a way to acknowledge their self-worth better. So let me ask you this follow-up question. For those of you who are saying that on both Instagram and TikTok, what are you not doing right now for yourself? I would love to know. What are you struggling with when it comes to yourself? Is it your self-talk? Is it that you have kind of chronically neglectful behaviors towards yourself? Are you having a hard time showing impulse control? Are you having a hard time just being supportive of yourself? Where are you struggling? I would love to know, kind of at a practical level, what are you struggling with that's making this hard? Yeah, and then some of you are saying you're really struggling with friendships. You've left maybe toxic partnerships, but you find that your friendships are also toxic, and you're struggling with knowing how to deal with that. What to do, how to maybe find a better community, maybe how to even identify toxicity in friendship. Maybe you're struggling with that. So say more about that. What's particularly is going wrong with that? Or are you having a hard time with that? Some people are saying you're having a hard time finding a therapist. Yeah, I feel that. Boy, you guys really let me know in my DMs. I cannot tell you how many times I'm asked each week, what are my office hours? And the truth is I don't counsel anymore. So I'm not in that practice anymore. But I do have a list of coaches. So if you're looking for coaches, you can always contact me for a list of coaches. It's hard for me to give. People often want a name of a therapist, like a psychiatrist and psychologist. First of all, I don't know the mental health community where I'm at. And here's the other really weird thing about the United States. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but in the United States, we license by state. It's where you live, and you need to treat the patients where you live. That means therapists can't be seeing patients across state lines. You have to, and I can't know everyone in the whole United States who's reputable and has a good, it's just, I don't even know how one would do that to vet that many people. So I can't make a recommendation for who would be good in New York City or who might be really good in LA, because someone in New York City, unless they're licensed in LA, they can't be treating you really. They can be coaching you. Now they can be a coach, but they can't be licensed and treating you as a clinician like a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I don't know if you guys have caught, but rarely reference myself as a psychologist because of all those laws. It makes it really, really tough we need to have a nationalized registration or a licensure program in the United States, and we don't. We don't have one. So there's all these rules that kind of affect how practice happens. Yeah, I'm going over here to TikTok. There's a lot of comments coming in TikTok. Yeah, so one said, I'm having a hard time with healthy behaviors. I have a lot of unhealthy behaviors. Someone else says they're working on their health. Someone else says they just have a hard time keeping up with the household, keeping up with taking care of their household. How to love ourselves, to show love for ourselves. How to make plans and stay with the plans. How to deal with toxicity in our thoughts and our heads. Yeah, it's all of this. I agree. All of this is hard work. Very, very hard work. And someone else says that their husband has been in jail and he's getting out, and they're feeling a lot of fear about that. You know, I want to speak to that for a second. If I were in your shoes, I would be right now doing a whole lot of work to line up where you could go, how you're going to financially support yourself if you can, start to develop an exit plan. If you said husband, that means he's not an ex, means you're in a relationship with him right now. So I would be doing a lot of work to figure out what is it that you want to do next, and what do you need to get in line in order to get ready for that. And I know that's really scary for me probably to say that out loud to you, but that's what I would be focusing on. If you are feeling fear, and it's been a relief not having him in the house because of his legal problems, that's telling you something. That's telling you that this relationship has been toxic and dangerous to you. And I know that maybe you don't right now probably feel like you have a moment where he can't watch you. So there's a lot you can do to start to get your ducks in a row, like legally getting documents lined up, like getting all the stuff that normally he probably would be supervising and be suspicious of. I would be doing all those things right now. There's an app you can put on your phone. Did you guys know that? It's called the Calculator Vault. Calculator Vault app. It's a free app. It looks like the iPhone calculator icon. And in it, when you put in a certain like a nonsensical equation, it opens up and becomes a file folder where you can put files. All this, of course, is electronic files, electronic photos, all the things that you don't want other people to find. Now, granted, I know people who are cheating use this. Yes, we can't stop that, but it's really great for those of us who are needing to keep ourselves safe, who have a partner who's probably combing our phones. This is a really great way for you to store things on your phone, out of sight, for yourself. But that's what I would be doing. If you've got this space until next Tuesday, use it. Use the space. Based upon the last live that I was on, I pulled it out of the course. I have an online course called First Steps to Leaving a Narcissist. That's the purpose of the course, to help you break through the mental confusion of should you stay or should you leave? Does this person love you or not love you? And it's gender neutral. But near the end, the assumption is that you're going to come to the conclusion, if it's toxic, that you need to leave. And one of the end, I give a list of things to do, a checklist of things that you should consider, that you should go find, that you should make records of. And it is now available for purchase. It's called Relationship Exit Strategy Checklist or something like that. It's available for 99 cents in the link in my bio. So that would be a checklist for you, possibly, to work through. What is the calculator app called? It's called Calculator Vault, like a vault. Think of like a safety vault, VAULT, Calculator Vault app. And it looks just like a math, like a calculator, that brown and tan with numbers icon. It looks just like that. And it works like a calculator, guys. It actually is a calculator. But if you put in a nonsensical code, it opens up and becomes a file vault for you to store anything that you don't want your partner to find. Yeah, I had a similar moment of respite of where my ex wasn't around me, and I used that to get documents out. I couldn't get them out because they would know that they're missing, but I was able to make copies of the important documents. Your marriage certificate or license, get your social security card, your passport, the kid's birth certificate, immunization records. I mean, all of this stuff you're going to want to collect. You want to be able to access your bank accounts. Every account that you're aware of the two of you have as joint, or that he has or you have, and take records of all of them. Get all the logins everywhere that you can. I mean, all these things that are really, really important for you to gather so that you have them. It's really important when you start to make a financial case in the divorce. It's really, really, and a lot of times toxic people are deceptive. You know, they are doing things that are, and they also do things that are really controlling too. So here's a provocative question. How do you let your anger out without hurting anyone's feelings? That's a great question. Is that tough for you, all of others of you? Are you struggling to know how not to be abusive and angry at the same time? Okay, so let me kind of like separate this, because I think there's a real great way to think about anger versus abuse. So let's talk about what is abuse. And then we can even talk about what is narcissistic abuse versus abuse, which has been commonly starting to ask. Why are we calling this narcissistic abuse? Why don't we just refer to it as abuse? So let's talk about anger versus abuse. Abuse is any time that we invalidate, attack, minimize. In other words, we diminish the value of another person. We make a statement of worth about the other person. We hurt them, or we denigrate them in the process of some form of communication or lack of communication. Sometimes we can even do it with our behavior. I mean, obviously, if we're assaultive, but you even can do it with your silence, with what you don't say, what you fail to say, by your lies, those types of things. So anytime that we attempt to control or dominate another person for our purposes between adults, that's abusive. Now, obviously, when we're talking about children, you're going to control your children's lives because you know that they need to eat. It's better to have a balanced meal versus cotton candy for lunch. I mean, they may say that you're controlling and dominating them, but you're doing it for their best interest. But when adults are adults, and as children grow and increase their autonomy and their ability to make good decisions, we should give more and more of that over to them. It should be like at birth, you're managing everything. You're managing their schedule, their sleep, where they sleep, what they wear, everything, all the way to by 18, you're giving all of that to them. That should be all of the stuff they're managing for themselves. So think of that as like a incremental releasing process from 100% to 0. That's what it should look like. Our goal for our children, this is one thing I always ask people when I was seeing parents of children. I said, what is your goal for children? And they would always give me answers that probably are very destructive. Like, please don't say your goal is to have happy children. Happy children are not healthy children. Think about it. What would make your kids happy? Probably not going to school and playing video games all day, right? Well, that won't make a very functional adult. It won't make a very healthy, meaningful life. So what you want ideally for your goal for your children is, I want a functional adult, a healthy, functional adult. That's my goal for my child, which means then you're going to incrementally give them greater and greater degree of responsibility and accountability and freedom as they begin to practice this from babyhood to adulthood. But when we're talking about adult relationships, we should be able to be supportive and to encourage the autonomy of each other while we come together and experience intimacy. That should be what's called interdependent. It's not independence. Independence is no relationship, but dependency is over. It's a needing someone. It's not having someone. You're relying on that person for your well-being, for who you are. So you want an interdependence. It's autonomy blended with intimacy that kind of comes back and forth. Okay, so Abuse is an attack on that. It's a diminishing, it's controlling another person or making a statement about their value. It's saying that they're not important, that your needs are only ones are important. That's abuse. And it comes in lots of different forms, tons and tons of forms. Feelings, let's go back to the question was, how do I be angry and not be abusive? Feelings is just an expression of something that's wrong. That, like, when I feel anger, that means to me someone's kind of infringing on me, or something feels wrong, or I feel that threat, or I feel it's a change message. It says something about my life needs to change. Sadness is a reflection of loss. Shame is a reflection for me that I feel I've done something wrong and I'm worried about my value, my own value. So feelings are actually like warning lights on a car's dashboard. It says something's happening about how I feel about myself as an ego, and that I have an experience around that. So anger is a please change message. But how do you express anger? There's lots of ways of expressing it. Have you ever thought of that? Most of us don't. Most of us think that the way we express it is the way to express it, but there isn't. You can be silent and angry. You can steam, fume and be angry. You can withhold and be angry. You can explode and storm and be angry. You can damage stuff and be angry. You can assault and be angry. All of their anger is just the feeling, but the action is unique to you. And the action is actually controllable. Anyone who says, I do this because I'm angry, that's actually a fallacy. No, you don't. That's how you're expressing your anger. But that's not how everybody else expresses their anger. And the way you express your anger can be relearned. You don't have to express it with assault. You don't have to express it by fuming. You could express it by laughing, or by talking, or by deep breathing. You have all the options in the world to express your anger. And most of those expressions, believe it or not, are actually abusive. So the connection that many of us have made of, I'm angry because I feel offended, or you've hurt me, therefore I'm going to hurt you, is a logical conclusion that you've made that you don't need to make. You have complete control over what you do with so if someone steps on my toe, let's use a practical example. Someone steps on my toe and I'm angry about it and I want them off. And maybe I even said, get off my toe, and they've not do it. I can pull my foot out from underneath of them. I don't have to kick them. I don't have to push them. I don't have to scream an epitaph at them. I have all the options in the world to decide what I'm going to do to get somebody off my toe. I can even use my other foot to slide their toe off my toe. So the assumption that we make that anger is always abusive is a connection that some of us have made, but it's an arbitrary connection. It's an arbitrary connection. So I would challenge you to think about, how do you express your emotions? And then to ask yourself, is it hurtful or offending other people? Is it abusive? Why am I assuming that's the only way I need to do it? And what other options can I have? Because here's what I think happens. If we really slowed down and dissected why people are being abusive, we would say it's because they feel entitled. Like they have a right to be hurtful because they're being hurt. You're making an assumption that maybe you've never considered because you haven't kind of sort of broke it apart. But a feeling is just a sensory experience. And what you do with it is all the stuff that you've layered on top of that sensory experience. You've created an interpretation, you've created a justification, and then you've created a pattern of habits. And all of that can be undone. It does feel innate at some level, but it all can be deconstructed and relearned. All of it. And thanks so much. Somebody just said they bought my book and they're into it 3 days. Oh, you were done with it in 3 days. Yeah, I had a friend of mine said she stayed up through the night. She couldn't put it down. I love hearing that. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. A lot of work went into writing Love You More. A lot of work. So yeah, I wrote it. And you know what's really vulnerable about the book? And somebody just said the most powerful thing to me. And I think it was Bree. Bree, if you're still here, I want to really thank you. It hit me. I wrote about who I was when I was in a relationship from 2017 to 2019. I forgot that she's not me. I'm not her anymore. But the me that I couldn't leave. I didn't know how to leave, and I was scared to leave. And there are some uncomfortable truths that I don't want to be the focus of the book, so I didn't say it in the book. But was there toxic reasons why I was in that relationship? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't the healthiest. Anybody who gets my book knows that I was widowed. I was desperate for the life that I had lost, and I was scared to be alone. But I also had some other things that were kind of making me blind to the fact that I had met a predator. I wanted to be loved by someone handsome. And he's a very handsome man. I don't know if he's handsome today, but he's a very handsome man. And I also wanted to know that I had tied my value to who I could pick. And I wanted this person to sort of affirm that I had worth. That's what I've had to own and do the hard work on myself, so I'm not vulnerable again. So I won't do that again. So I will not do that again. And the other thing is, once I got into the relationship, I was really afraid of making a mistake because I knew it would be I couldn't reverse it. I knew it wouldn't be reversible. And I also was very scared to be on my own, and setting a hard limit and making someone angry scared me, really deeply, deeply scared me. And now I'm realizing, what's the worst that can happen? Even if they became physically abusive to me, you can't really touch a person's core unless that person lets them. That's how I have to take what you've done to me and let it make a statement about me. And today I'm not giving people that kind of power. So even trolls, I had a couple people write in on a review of the book. One was, I was only in it because he had an amazing sexual prowess. By the way, he was terrible. So wrong. Or because I was orgasming all the time. You didn't read the book because that wasn't happening. Or because he was way younger and I really needed that. Again, you didn't really read the book. He wasn't that much younger than me. So, I mean, it's interesting the people's assumptions they make about me by reading the book, but I did have to take a long look at my neediness when I got into the relationship. And I don't like focusing that. You probably won't hear me put a video out on this, because people who want to diminish narcissistic abuse and say it's just the victim's fault will leap on that and say, see, she's owning that it's her fault. No. I didn't deceive myself. I didn't love bomb myself. He love bombed me. He lied to me. I never met the real person. In fact, if I knew who he was, if he came out and said to me, yeah, I'm a serial cheater, I don't believe in monogamy, but hell, baby, you're going to only belong to me and no one else. And you know what? I want to control every single moment of your day. And if I don't like what you're going to do, I'm going to stomp around and make your life miserable. I would not have ever said yes. All of those other needs that I had wouldn't have mattered if he had told me the truth. I'm not into that. I'm not polyamorous, nor was he, by the way. He wasn't polyamorous either. He wanted me monogamous to him, and he wanted to make no commitment to me. I'm not into that. And if he had been honest about that, I'd say, no, thank you. I would have been clear. I don't care if you were the most handsome man God had ever given to any woman in the world. I would have said, no, thank you. No, I don't want that. I want intimacy. So that's why I don't come out and say these things in public on a videotape that's like forever, because it becomes, I just don't want it used that way. But between us, and this is an intimate group here today, I do think it's really important for us to know where our neediness was, because we did, if we're honest, miss a few red flags. We saw a lot of green ones. And yes, they were lying to us. They were lying to us. There, by the way, you want to know the difference between abuse and narcissistic abuse? That's the difference. I'm about ready to put a video out on that. Abuse has 3 stages. The buildup, where everybody starts walking on eggshells because they sense this person's getting edgy. Then the explosion. And then the honeymoon phase, which they try to make it up and say it'll be different and they won't do it again. But there's usually not deception. There's not a false persona. You know you've got a temperamental person that you're living with that explodes. That's abuse. That's, according to the National Hotline on Domestic Violence, that's an abuse cycle. I've seen it. I've been around it. It's different than narcissistic abuse. Here's what narcissistic abuse is. It's abuse, but it's a subtype. Narcissistic abuse is the person you meet has created a deception in order to lure you into a relationship because they knew that who they really actually are, you wouldn't be interested in. and they want something from you. So they deceive you to get you into the relationship, and maybe not always consciously, but it's there. It maybe is, hey, in fact, I see mild versions of it on dating apps all the time. That's awful. Like, hey, baby, I want a relationship, but let's keep it casual. Let's not define anything. By the way, that's deceptive. That person's actually saying, I don't want a relationship. I just want a one-off with you. But I can't say that out loud because you probably wouldn't want one with me. And so in order to get what I want, I'm going to lead you into a different direction. And then I'm going to trash you on the other side because I lied. I just couldn't tell you that it really was this. So I pretended it was this over there. That, by the way, guys, is narcissistically abuse. It's narcissistic abuse. Anybody who's doing that on apps with anybody, and I don't care if it's women looking for a better lifestyle or men looking for sex, you're being abusive. You need to just come out and say things what they are. If you want a gold digging kind of relationship, say that. You want a sugar daddy, say that. If you want just a one night stand, say that. But quit leading people on by telling them what they want to hear so that you can get what you want. That's abuse. That's narcissistic abuse. It's deceptive. That's narcissistic abuse. It's love bombing. It's a false persona. You get a person into whatever it is that you want, then they get what you want, then you don't really want them anymore, and then you get rid of them. That's the cycle of narcissistic abuse. Yes, it makes me hot. I'm hot because it's happening too often. Because it's becoming okay to do this in too many places. Like even this gym bro pressure that of all these people who say to women, you know what, babe? You know, I put hard work into myself. I'm at the gym. And if you need to show the same kind of care to yourself, first of all, you're not a woman. So you don't really know what that feels like. And that battle we're out. And by the way, are you sexually moral? You know, you want me to like have a great relationship with food? Are you having a good relationship with sex? Are you holding your appetites there? How many hours are you spending on porn? I mean, we're not holding them the same level of accountability, but they're not spending the time on their emotional intelligence, and they're just upset that we're not better sex objects. Let's just be really honest about that. That's all what that's all about. I'm off dating apps again. I'm done. I did 3 months of it. Ugh, awful. Not interested. Back off. It's okay. My single life is good. I'm getting used to that. But there you go. That's a difference of abuse versus narcissistic abuse. Abuse is without the deception. It's more upfront. Try Grindr. Is Grindr at least honest? Are people like saying, hey, this is what I want? That's all I'm asking for. I want people to be honest. I'm finding, you know, I was looking at men in their late 50s and early 60s. I cannot find a more avoidant group out there. Sheesh. They're all happy to like say, hey, how are you doing? Let's get to know each other and talk for a few minutes. But then anything beyond that, anything kind of remotely smells of real, they're out of there. They're really out. You're funny. So Florin on Instagram is saying, I'm having my, when I'm on Grindr. That's what they do. That's funny. Yeah, honesty and communication does go a long ways, but it's not only hard for narcissists to do, it's hard for all, let's be honest, it's hard for all of us to do. It's not just narcissists who are having a hard time being honest. We're all scared to put ourselves out there in a real way. We really are. Yeah. Yep. Hey, SJ, so good to see you. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary to show up and have someone say no thank you. So let me give you a tip on that. If you want to be more, I call it radical honesty. You want to live a more radical honesty life. It's you being okay first with your viewpoint. Get settled in your mind and feel comfortable. Don't look for validation of it. If we go in knowing that we like our viewpoint, we don't need someone else to like endorse it, then we can hold our ground better. So say, for example, let's just take devil's advocate for a moment. Say you are just looking for sex, okay? And you go out to this and you say, hey, I'm not really interested in a relationship, but I'd like a one-off. Are you into it? And if someone says, no, I think that's disgusting, God bless them. They're just not on the same page as you. Their feeling about it does not make any statement about you. It doesn't need to. That's just where they're at. It's when we go into it that we say, oh, you have to like approve of what I want. You have to agree with what, don't judge what, no, who cares? you're never going to see them again. They don't mean anything to you. Their opinion means nothing. Just let it go. But be honest. Same with those of us who want a relationship. For us, if we come in and say, I don't even believe in, let's take another far extreme. I won't have sex before I get married. I want to get married again. Yes, I know I'm this old, but I really want to get married. And you meet someone that says, no, I don't even believe I'll ever get married again. That's not a statement on you. Hold your line. Be comfortable with it. God bless. They never want to be married again, and it's great for you that you do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when we go in that we have to have someone's agreement and buy-in, and we take all this meaning from it that we then we feel like we have to hide ourselves and be deceptive. We have to, yeah. So we don't need to be. So if someone's on here from France and they said, yeah, that's funny. The things you guys can talk about on Instagram, you can't talk about on TikTok. I don't know if you've noticed this. So we have language over here on TikTok because it's a minor first app. So we are aware that TikTok's monitoring us. And so that's why we use the word unalive. That's why we put the word sex with S-E-G-G. I love how on Instagram, all of that is it's A-okay. You can say all of that. It's not A-okay over in TikTok. Yeah, I would be curious if any men are in the audience, if I haven't chased you all out by now, I would love to know, if you're on dating apps, what do you find of middle-aged women? Are they as avoidant as middle-aged men? Sheesh. Middle-aged men, they like the idea of a relationship and they like the idea of meeting someone, but they are scared. They are so scared of actually showing up and risking. And I it's funny because I know women get accused of being, whenever we do something, they say, oh, so who burned you? I see a lot of evidence of trauma on both sides, on both genders. It just shows up differently. Men are more hesitant to get into a relationship. They may be open to sex, but I don't think they're that open to having a relationship. You're single, so you mingle. That's funny. That's really funny. Question for you, Florin, I don't know if I say your name right, but so do you know how to actually be intimate? To really bare your soul and to risk somebody like that? Oh, you're a woman. That's interesting. Yeah, I would be curious about that. I would be curious how easy is it for all of us to really believe someone could have our back and to risk them knowing us. I'm getting scared that we're becoming too avoidant of that. That the amount of trauma that many of us have suffered has gotten to the place that we're opting out of that. We'll risk being sexually intimate with somebody, but we won't risk being psychologically intimate with somebody. And I'm not even for sure we even now know the difference. I think we're getting so nervous about intimacy that we're opting out and thinking that being sexually intimate is intimate, and it's not. It's just a piece of the intimacy. Yeah, where are all the men that don't cheat and lie all the time? I think men would say, where are all the women that don't do the same, unfortunately. I think that there's a lot of fear of intimacy everywhere. I think there really is. Oh, it's funny, Kerry. I've taken 3 years. I've had plenty of time to heal. There comes a place, and here's the thing. That's a common thing that people say. Maybe you take the time and heal. Well, part of healing can never happen until you're in a relationship. You have to, in order to get, say you're building muscles. You can build muscles like doing all the things on a weight thing, but you're going to need to stand up and use those muscles and see what they do in real life. You have to practice that. You can't just do it with yourself. It has to be in relationship with somebody. Now, where I'm practicing is with my adult sons. I have 3 of them. They are, in their early 30s to late 20s. So they're adults. They have their own lives. And that's where I'm practicing with friends and stuff. But I would like to practice with a relationship. I think I'm to the place of that. But meeting a guy in this environment and with my lifestyle, that's really hard. And doing what I do, it's really, 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 really hard. It's really hard. So yeah, at this point, and this is where I know I always tell people, can't talk about faith on my channel, but we're coming near the end of today, so I'll say it. I'm trusting God with that stuff because there's a piece of it you just don't have control over. You just don't. I mean, I can't make a good guy show up in my life. I could put myself in all the right places, doing all the right things, and it doesn't mean I'll meet the right guy who's healthy. Same for men who are looking for a good relationship in a woman. It's just really, really hard. There's a lot that has to go right, and there's a lot of, kismic, a lot of I don't know. So yeah, I at this point, I'm having my best life, and I'm living that with myself, for myself. And with, I love this idea. I know that Louise kind of proposed it on one of her videos, and Bree's been talking about it too, but I really believe in a found family, that I'm creating a new found family, and that you guys are a part of it. You all here who are consistently show up and talk to me time after time after time, we're building a community too. We're building a community together, which is a great segue for me to wrap this up today by reminding you of my online private community. We just moved it from Facebook. It's still on Facebook, but it's private and it's subscription only. And you can subscribe by being a subscriber on Instagram, as well as being a subscriber on TikTok, or a subscriber through Ko-fi, which is like Patreon. But I've moved now for a more interactive experience to Discord. So we'll have threads over there. We can do voice calls. We can have group voice calls. It's way more interactive over there. So I'm super excited. It's called Toxic Free Relationship Club, $5 a month for this. And so for anybody who's looking for support, looking to hang out with me, hang out with other people who, we've created this group together. Hey, so good to see you, Samurai, Spiritual Samurai. Yeah, he's a good person to follow, guys, on Instagram, is Spiritual Samurai on TikTok and Instagram. Love his content. And he's I love what you do. I really love what you do. So yeah, but yeah, as far as the direction, I think this is what I'll wrap up the talk about 2023 goals with this. There's behaving well, making good choices, taking responsibility, living honestly with ourselves, but there's also a level of trust in a higher good. A trust in whether you believe in a God or a higher power or some other form of that. For us to realize a piece of it is to believe the universe also has our back and working towards our good. And so I see that kind of like a collaboration. It's a collaboration. Me doing all my parts and pieces, not asking someone to rescue me while I make unhealthy choices and do hurtful actions, but I also rest in the fact that life is good and that life has purpose and that's heading in a good direction. So yeah, I do too. I love the TikTok community and the Instagram community. So it's and soon I'll be going live on Tuesdays on YouTube too. So we'll be adding that in as another source for people. So we can go live on TikTok, and it'll be Instagram and YouTube at the same time. All right, guys, this has really, really been wonderful. Thank you for helping me start my 2023 year off with all you. I'll be here on Thursday. Don't forget, if you're interested in that guided mind-body reconnection experience, to sign up. If you want to be one of the 4 guests going forward in February, please sign up for that. And as an audience, put it on your calendar, 1 o'clock, January 12th, we will start that, and I'm super excited. All right, you guys have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.